Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be more of an informational just whiteboard video. I want to make some more content like this. I think there's some more value in it. So I want to mix this into the vlogs, but of course also keep some of the organic vlog content pumping. So I'm always talking about, visualization and how reality is only true as you perceive it. But I wanted to explain more so the scientific backing behind statements that I make like that, and the scientific backing behind how visualization can actually help you attract success into your life, and how you can actually begin to perceive reality in whatever form you want it to be. So we're gonna look at two experiments. We're gonna look at the double slit experiment, and we're also gonna look at Schrodinger's box experiment. So the first experiment we're gonna go over really quickly. This is the double slit experiment. So essentially, this experiment proves that reality changes as we perceive it. So for example, in the video, imagine there's a gun shooting particles, right? So here's a gun. I know it might be kind of hard to see. And then here's the double splits, right? So the particles get shot and they go through the slits, right? And they end up in a straight line as you may expect through the slits. However, you need to understand this is when we shoot the gun and we're not watching it. So for example, you shoot the gun and there's no recording device watching it happen. Now, however, when you shoot the gun, but this time, imagine there's a camera or some kind of other recording device watching this event happen. It's still the same thing, the two double slits. However, this time the particles act as waves instead of particles. So for example, before it just ended up in particles through the slits, right? This time, however, the particles ended up as waves, almost like this, right? The only thing that changed is that there's a recording device watching the gun shoot the particles. Now, the question becomes, why does this happen? Why does this change once we're watching the event happen? And I'm gonna actually propose a theory later on that's gonna explain this. But for now, let's look at the second experiment. Now, to understand the second experiment, you need to understand what a quantum particle is. Essentially, the atom is the smallest particle a particle can be. But if you think about it, there's no such thing as the smallest size of a particle, because technically you can always divide the size of a particle in half and continue to get an infinitely smaller particle, right? So a quantum particle is a particle that is smaller than an atom. Now, why is this important? Quantum particles are always in superposition. And what superposition means is that a quantum particle is in all possible states at all times until it is observed. So how does this tie into the second experiment? Now, the basis of this experiment, ignore my drawing. This is supposed to be a cat inside a box, and this is a quantum particle that's decaying, a toxic particle that's decaying. If it decays, it will kill the cat. If it doesn't, the cat will live. The idea is that you leave the cat in the box without watching it. And remember, quantum particles only assume a position once they are observed. So technically, this decaying quantum particle that could kill the cat has both already killed the cat and has not, because it does not have an official position until it is observed. Therefore, two realities can occur at once until you can actually observe what has happened and give meaning to what has happened. Okay, now I'm going to explain why these experiments actually matter. So we've gone over what quantum particles are. We've gone over what superposition is. And I've noticed a lot of patterns in these experiments and the books I've read and in a lot of other videos I've listened to. A great book is Reality Transurfing. That's a really heavy book, but it's a great book if you want to learn more about stuff like this. And the idea is that all possibilities of universes exist at the same time, and essentially the reality that you choose, the reality that you attract and act in accordance with, is going to be the reality that you end up living. So that's basically as far as scientific theory goes, right? To this day, there's no exact explanation why quantum particles are the way they are, why they're always in superposition, and why they don't have an exact form until we observe them. But this is where theory comes in, and this is where I want to add on to the scientific theory. I have my own personal theory about why quantum particles are the way that they are, so I'm going to attempt to explain that. So the idea is that we can all be shaping our reality by constantly observing these quantum particles and shaping our reality as you want it to be. However, by doing that in the present moment, it does not work, because there's so many other factors that can be observing quantum particles at the same time as you. For example, even things like heat, light energy, all of that can be considered as affecting these quantum particles and bring these particles out of superposition, and therefore observing it in a way that you don't want the particles to be observed and affected. So that's about as far as theory ends, right? Now, the whole reason I made this video is to show you why all the universal laws are actually backed by science. The law of attraction, the law of assumption, look all those up. They're all backed by science. So basically, as far as science goes, we can't observe quantum particles to our advantage in the present moment, because there are so many other present factors that will be influencing our own perception of the particles. However, where my theory begins is this: the only thing in life that nothing else has any bearing on, any perception on, any effect on, besides you, is your future. So follow along here. So this is your past, This line has to be the present. The present can only be one exact moment, right? That's why we're just gonna have it be this line. We'll label it P, right? And then we have the future. Your job in the present is to be perceiving your current self as you want to be in the future. So as you see yourself as the highest form of yourself that you want to be, as you see yourself as already being that person in the present moment, and by perceiving that's who you will be in the future, you perceive and you start perceiving that your future is going to be tied to that reality. Eventually, with enough conviction, enough belief, enough work with your identity, that future reality is going to cross over into the present, obviously, eventually into the past. And sooner or later, you're going to find that what you manifested, what you visualized has actually become your reality. Again, because you perceive the quantum particles of the future as who you are now going to be in the present. And over time, I promise you, your identity will actualize based on the manifestations you have, based on the identity of yourself that you work on, and based on the future that you perceive happening. Because remember, quantum particles are always in superposition. That means in the future, the possibility of everything to happen is already happening all at once. So it is quite literally the future that you decide you want to have, that you will have, by observing that future as your own and bringing that future into the present day by day. I hope this video helps. I know this is a hard concept to explain. I try to pull out the whiteboard, but again, I know it's still gonna be hard to explain. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. If there's anything else you want me to touch on, let me know, and I'd love to answer any questions you have.